you start your timer?
Okay. Hi, this is Bruce Adams, sports editor of Mainline Times and Mainline Suburban Life on the Mainline Media News Sports Show. And with me today is a Radnor resident, Lou Orlando, who's written Volume 2 of the Ultimate Phillies Trivia Quiz. This is a copy of his book right here, a copy of the cover. A few years ago, he wrote Volume 1 of the Ultimate Phillies Trivia Quiz. Lou, nice to have you with us here.
Bruce, thanks for having me back. It's good.
Thank you. As I say, Lou is a Radnor resident and has been for quite some time. Lives right near the Agnes Irwin School, and has written a book. We'll be, talking to him about the book and what went into it, and a lot about Phillies trivia and that sort of thing. But I guess, Lou, my first question is, let's talk a little bit about your Phillies fandom. Do you remember the first Phillies game you went to?
I do. It was a Sunday afternoon at Connie Mack Stadium. Robin Roberts and Don Newcomb were pitching. I left a little disenchanted because I didn't see a home run, but I was only 8 years old, and that's, couldn't appreciate a good pitcher's battle back then. But what was ironic about that game is I think that day I saw 5 or 6 future Hall of Famers,
That's right.
in between Roberts and Ashburn, and Duke Snyder and Pee Wee Reese and Jackie Robinson. To go to your first game and see 5 players who would ultimately make the Hall of Fame was pretty special. But I do remember we were in the upper deck at Connie Mack Stadium.
That's awesome. And, you were in the upper deck, out in left field there?
Yep, upper deck in left field. I guess I was, 1953, 54. I was 8 or 9 years old. Okay, that's interesting because
that was actually back, if that was 53, 54, that would have been when the Philadelphia A's also played in Connie Mack Stadium.
Well, they did, and I had uncles who were A's fans and uncles who were Phillies fans. My father was a Phillies fan, so that was the game that we went to. I did get to see the A's one time when I was in the Cub Scouts. We had a Cub Scout outing, and I did see the A's, and Gus Zernial hit a home run that day.
There's a name from the past, Gus Zernial.
Now, they left like that very year, I think, 53 or 54.
Yeah, it was after the 54 season. The interesting thing is is that if you look at pictures of Connie Mack Stadium, and you probably remember this, back in the early 50s, 53, 54, that scoreboard, the famous scoreboard in right field that a lot of people remember in Connie Mack Stadium it was up there in the 60s and all, was not installed until 1956. Originally, actually, the big scoreboard in right field at Connie Mack Stadium that was up there until the park closed in 1970 was actually a Yankee knockoff. It was a old Yankees scoreboard. Once in 1956, once they got their scoreboard, they sent us their second-hand one. They sent us their used one, and we kept it in there because, as it was in 56, the park was already 47 years old. But before that, they just had a smaller scoreboard, which is probably when you remember, if you remember the scoreboard from back then.
I didn't know that we got a Yankee hand-me-down for a scoreboard.
That's what it was, a Yankee knockoff, as it were. But it's interesting because if you go and you look down at Citizens Bank Park in the Hall of Fame Club, there's a mural of Robin Roberts pitching, but you see the big scoreboard out in right field, the one from Yankee Stadium, so you know that mural has to be from 1956 or after, because before they had a smaller one. Now, who was your favorite player growing up?
That's easy. Richie Ashburn.
Yeah, mainline guy.
And well, actually, I grew up in Havertown, and one summer, Richie Ashburn and his family rented a house on James Drive in Havertown, which was about 2 blocks from my house where I grew up. And I'll bet my friends and I knocked on his door. Sounds strange, knocking on the door of a superstar. Probably 25 or 30 times that summer, and never once did he not come down and sign an autograph for us.
You guys must have gotten a lot of autographs.
We did, and I think he used to look at us and say, "Didn't I see you here yesterday and the day before?" But and we used to see him we used to play ball as kids at Steel Field. This was back in the days when you could leave your house at 9 or 10 in the morning, go play ball all day long, come back at 4, and your parents didn't worry.
Right.
A couple times when the Phillies were off, steel field, but had about a 25 or 35-foot embankment that you had to walk down to get to the field. And every once in a while there would be Richie Ashburn just running up and down that hill to strengthen his legs. Wow. So he was quite a guy. I got to know him better at a few of these Phillies fantasy camps that I went to. But if you ask me my favorite ball player, Richie Ashburn.
Wow, oh, that's a good one to have. He's really kind of beloved by Philadelphia for a lot of years. Now, as I mentioned, you live in Radnor Township, right near the Agnes Irwin School, and your son played baseball for Radnor Little League and then went on to Malvern Prep, and your daughter went to Baldwin. Well, what kind of sports did they play in high school?
They didn't play anything that I recognized, which my son swam for Malvern, then later West Virginia. He also played lacrosse. My daughter played lacrosse, and she rowed for Baldwin. So it was, I was one of those parents that had to sit in the stands and basically just root for the team and keep my mouth shut because I knew nothing about either of the sports they were involved in.
Face-offs or anything like that.
Yeah. And they certainly didn't want me in any of the boats on the Schuylkill, I can tell you that.
Now, you once had an interesting experience with Harry Callis at a nearby gas station. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, after Harry passed, there was so much written about what a wonderful man he did and all the things that he did sort of under the radar, to help people and acquiesce to different requests. He was the guy that literally never said no. I was gassing up my car in King of Prussia, and at the next pump was Harry Callis, with his white jacket on, about 4:30 in the afternoon. And I guess he said, "Oh, it's a great night for a ball game." I said, "This is sometime in late September. It was already about 50 degrees." I said, "I don't know, Harry. This might be a little cold tonight."
Yeah.
And so I introduced him. We talked briefly however long it takes to fill up your car.
Yeah.
He left. 3 months later, I'm in the Guardhouse restaurant in Gladwin. I'm walking out, and Harry's walking in. He says, "Hey, Lou, how you doing?"
Wow.
It's good night for a ball game. A little cold, isn't it? I said, "I can't believe." I left, and my wife says, "You know Harry Callis?" I said, "I met the man for like 10 minutes at a gas station." Now, I did say my name was Lou.
Yeah.
But how 3 months later, he not only remembered that he saw me, but said Lou.
And remember the thing about the great night for a ball game.
Yeah, that I thought it was too cold. And now, of course, in December, it was probably about 20 degrees. Yeah. But that was the kind of guy he was. And unfortunately, I think a lot of that didn't come out until after he passed. All the things he would do for charity, all the favors. I mean, he literally had a hard time saying no to people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember he'd never refuse, autographs, things like that. And then a lot of times he'd be even, doing the voiceover for people's cell phones, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then always say, "Ball's out of here." And he'd always do it. I mean, he really appreciated that, it was the fans paying the freight. And it was just, that's really interesting. Now, you mentioned about the Phillies fantasy camps and getting to know Richie Ashburn a little bit better. Tell us a little bit about those camps that you attended down in Florida.
Well, I went to my first one when I was 40. I got hooked. I went to 18 others. I think with all the money I spent on fantasy camps, I probably could have bought my own baseball team.
Sure.
But basically, for those who don't know, you go to Clearwater, Florida. They give you a uniform, regular major league uniform with your name on the back and whatever number you choose to wear.
Yeah, what number did you choose to wear?
I was number 16.
16, okay. Was that for a particular Phillies player?
No, they sent a list of, you put your name on a sheet of paper, and anybody, you could choose whatever number you wanted.
Yeah.
And a lot of people chose the same number.
Okay.
There were a lot of number 36s and a lot of number 1s.
Robin Roberts and Richie Ashburn, sure.
So I picked one that no one else had. I guess I might have been the only Cookie Rojas fan there. I don't know.
That's right. Cookie Rojas was the guy that wore 16. You were mentioning about that number, and I was trying to think of what famous Phillies players worn 16, but it was Cookie Rojas.
Yeah. So, but basically, you spend a week doing the same thing that major league ball players do. you know, you get to the ballpark at 8 o'clock, you're working out. We're playing 2 games a day, you know, albeit, you know, only 7 innings. But for a bunch of guys over 40 that hadn't played baseball in a while, by the time you finish, you know, your legs are sore, your arm hurts, and if you can throw the ball from third base to first base by Saturday, you're one of the healthier ones.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, because you're not used to all that workout.
No.
Did you go out to a gym or anything like that before?
No, I didn't. I didn't.
Probably a lot of guys don't. They probably just, you know, don't really think of it or don't have the time for it, and they just want to, you know, concentrate on the baseball. But as you say, you know, they can get a little bit sore. But you actually had probably met a lot of the Phillies from like the 50s and 60s down there, didn't you?
Yeah, they were our coaches, and the first team I played for, I had Del Ennis as a coach, and Mage McDonald, one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet. Mage is terrific. Yeah. And then one year, I had Del Unser and Chris Wheeler, and I was on a team with, we had 12 men on the team. We had 10 doctors from Abington Hospital, myself and another fellow from South Jersey. So
good thing if you ever needed a doctor on the field, you'd have 10 of them running over to you. Yeah,
well, I'm just glad they didn't do an IQ test that week, because the guy from Jersey and I would have finished well behind the other 10, I'm sure.
Now, you know, tell us, you know, a little bit about the beginnings of your new book here. This is actually, you know, volume 2, the Ultimate Phillies Trivia Quiz. And your first one, this was actually a follow-up because of volume 2, because your first book was, what, back in 1994?
1994. I did it the year after they went to the World Series and lost to Toronto. And, you know, trivia, especially Phillies trivia, I mean, of all the teams in Philadelphia, I root for them, all of them, but the one that's my love and has always been my love, first love, are the Phillies. And I remember going to ball games with my friends from Havertown, and you know, because we would take 2 or 3 different conveyances to get to the ballpark, we would play Phillies trivia on the way. Now, again, we had to take the other guy's word that the answer was right, and sometimes there were some arguments, but whoever lost bought programs for everybody. But, you know, programs back then were only 15 cents.
Oh, sure.
So that's how it started, and I thought, well, geez, I wonder if this would be a good thing for a book. And coming on the heels of a World Series appearance, I thought, well, the timing could be right. And it was, and things were moving along smoothly, almost went to a second printing of 10,000.
Wow, of the first book?
Of the first book.
10,000.
They sold a lot of them at the Vet, in that little kiosk behind home plate where they had the books and, at the time, VHR tapes and whatever.
Sure.
But then they went on strike in '94, and
right in the middle of your book selling.
Yeah, so that put a crimp in sales. But so I didn't do anything for a long time, and not that, you know, people were clamoring for, you know, this is not like, when are you going to write the sequel to War and Peace? But a couple of people that had the book said, you know, a lot of the questions you have in this book, they're not accurate any longer. You know, who was the first, or who was, well, who was the first, but who was the last person to do this and all this, or, you know. So I said, well, maybe I'll do another one, and I got together with a classmate of mine from St. Joe's Prep, Fran DeHoratius, who lived here in Wayne for 30 years, taught at the Prep for 40 years, and we decided to do an e-book. So I did all the research and the questions and answers, and my friend Fran DeHoratius did all the technical work, including putting up the website